History is the tapestry of humanity that speaks of its achievements, written by scholars, painted by artists, spoken by the common man, and defended by warriors. It is that which attempts to convey the struggle of the past to the future, as many would like to claim. But at its root, what can truly be said about it? Humanity has certainly trampled over the fantasy that once roamed the planet's surface, having dismissed a dream that was not to their liking. Alas, beneath the thin veil of hope lies at its root a story filled with lies and deceit. What remains are tales that never occurred, victories that never brought satisfaction with them, lessons of truth built on the fear of the people that lived. To go even one step further, there are those that would be ashamed for the most trivial reasons imaginable. Something they would want to hide for all eternity to come. For this particular case, it would be the identity of one's own child. Once there was a nameless child, the reincarnation of a deity, born as an Oni, a demon that didn't deserve the love of her parents, sent by the heavens, yet cast aside as a human taboo. That child still managed to be raised in secrecy in a temple, and managed to obtain the name Ushi Gozen. It displayed great competency, raising a demonic country for its own sake. If it could not be accepted by humans, it would be accepted by its peers who had the same blood. Yet, once again humans interfered when they wished to exterminate this being and its country. The man that had been sent was none other than Minamoto no Raikou. He, alongside his 4 heavenly kings, demonstrated the indomitability of humanity's bloodlust quite well, destroying Gozen's short-lived dream entirely. A hero indeed, or perhaps the villain. No, perhaps more accurately, it is the victim. The truth that has been erased is that Ushi Gozen was Minamoto no Raikou. The battle that had occurred was nothing less but a suicide. If she was able to stand together with her family as a proud human, she? A she? A twin-layered curse to the Minamoto indeed, because their child was neither a man nor a human. How much easier would it have been if she was never born instead, and a human man took her place? This is the disputed identity known as Minamoto no Raikou. A man in history, a woman in this reality. Her life was rewritten by her family, and then by herself, all for the sake of her being tolerated. Not once was she truthfully accepted by her parents. Possessing great talent, yet only reluctantly being inducted under much secrecy, having to abandon any semblance of her old identity. Even those that knew her from this time would be forbidden from pointing out the truth, and after her passing, she would be written down as a man, just as her father wished. Her only merit to the humans was the strength found in her blood, and her ruthlessness she had obtained in preparation for that reunion, her readiness to slay the supernatural that would threaten humans. Once she yearned for the freedom of a demon, yet forbade herself from it. Why? As a human, she was obligated to fulfill all her father's wishes, never afforded the idea of self-agency. She was referred to as a man, called as such, but not treated any better than a woman, always subservient to others. At the very end, she would even be stripped of her title as the leader of the Genji, despite her loyalty and effort. Once she wanted to be a human, yet was never permitted to fulfill any of her dreams. Her one hope and greatest source of pride in life was found with her 4 heavenly kings, and amongst them, Kintoki would be the one to grow closest to her, as he himself was of mixed origin, and it fell upon him to support her the most. But alas, here we have to first expose a previous lie. Though her father never accepted her, her mother still wished for her child's life, and saved her, at the cost of her own. The only proof of her own mother's life was the fact that she was alive. To Kintoki, though not much older than him, she became a mother, Before properly establishing the Genji, she lived out a dream to ensure that Kintoki wouldn't live with the same lack of warmth that she had grown up with. The ideal of a mother that she pursued is the only bond she has with her own mother that she was never able to meet, a baseless hope that she could recreate the warmth she lacked. It was a short period in time where she was able to let her kindness bloom as much as she wanted, but the truth is, lost even to her, what did her father demand of her? Was it to adopt children she didn't know as her own? Was it to kill those that would be her husbands and raise their children as a father? Perhaps, under his orders, and against her will, even she would have had to lay her fingers on Kintoki. She is unable to recall, nor does she want to recall, a moment of great grief. The subject of her historically recorded children is not something one can easily bring up. But when was the moment she abandoned this short-lived dream altogether? With the appearance of a certain Oni at Mount Ue, she would have had to one day die to fulfill a most gruesome destiny, and end up losing more than she would ever admit. Her hatred of Shuten was, in fact, a product of later times, because back when she knew that her child and this Oni were childhood acquaintances, one could even say she tolerated her more than any other criminal, for she often actively restrained herself. Once more, why was it she yearned for the freedom of a demon to begin with? It was because she ended up observing the free-spirited Shuten Doji, living her life free of worry and regret, enjoying every minute of it. It was a state that at her core she wished she could replicate. Envy, jealousy, disdain, and yearning. Those were the feelings she had when she was observing the demon running around frequently, and causing, or back then just amounted to mischief. But if that was her true desire, why did she forbid herself? Because despite her natural inclination to think on a level closer to that of a divine being rather than being purely human, she was someone that easily grew attached to those close to her. Because she cherished the weak humans more than she did the Oni, she would never allow Ushi Gozen to run rampant and free again, even if she recalled the long-lost sensations of being a demon that had no obligations, no duty, and no need to follow orders she disliked. But this contradictory existence would enable her to live as neither a human nor a demon properly. As a demon, she lost her freedom, and as a human, well, she was never treated as such by others. As said before, her main merit lay in her divine strength and ruthlessness, and there would finally come a time for her to utilize it. Tasked with slaying the Oni on Mount Ue that were threatening the people of Kyoto, she and her 4 heavenly kings would embark to slay Shuten Doji and Ibaraki Doji through the help of an underhanded plot. Legends tell that it was her who slayed Shuten after poisoning her. If only it would have been that way. In the end, her dream as a mother was short-lived, because Kintoki ended up having to do what she had considered to be her own obligation originally. It was an act he regretted, as at the very end it seemed that he had remembered his own love from his childhood, right when he had to kill her. The details are unknown, and the truth has been revised several times. All that remained, however, was the fulfillment of a cruel fate. Having had to subject her son to a heavy guilt he would remember even after his passing, and his ascension to that of a heroic spirit. Her hatred of Shuten is as such twofold. To her, Shuten represents another path in life she regrets not taking perhaps, but it was also that woman's selfishness that made her desire to be killed by her beloved, knowing how much pain it would cause him. Still, not one for shifting blame, Raikou herself thought she had lost the right to ever dream of anything again herself. A half-baked existence that continued onwards to simply follow orders and slay what stood in her and humanity's way, going as far as to forego even basic necessities such as eating. Even so, regardless of how much time passed, she always was, and would continue, to be a warrior that followed orders and slayed what was asked of them. If she could be neither a demon nor a human, then this was her only path. With a blade and bow in hand, she fulfilled that which she thought any other man can do. And at the very end, as it had been said before, her only reward was her being stripped of her title. That is why, as a heroic spirit, One aspect of her will be a heartless warrior, rumoured to be an imposing warrior that wields a sword. Having nothing but her blade by her side, she has long since given up on finding meaning outside of her life as a tool of war. A killer that will simply crush without mercy, stripped of the idea of human dignity. Then conversely, there would have to be a container for her other lost and forgotten aspects that history failed to record. Two unrealized dreams coexisting that no matter how much humanity forgets, won't vanish. Will this transient dream end up achieving nothing again like he did in life, or finally obtain a fragment of warmth? As Kintoki himself claims, the Master of Chaldea will become an irreplaceable part of this Raikou. Her many flaws, the residue of dead dreams that never ended up playing a role in history as it is known, have coalesced into a dreadful combination in its own right. But all the more, it is perhaps the final cry let out, not by the man known as Minamoto no Raikou, but of the unnamed child that once lived in peace, far, far away, in secrecy. Thank you everyone for watching this analysis video on Minamoto no Raikou. This did take a while to make, so I'd appreciate if you could leave your support on the video. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next manifestation, where despair and hope gather once more.